I returned home on a Saturday morning, hoping for nothing more than a quiet weekend. After a week-long engineering consultation in Denver, I needed to unwind. But as I pulled into the driveway, I froze. There it was, parked squarely in my garage. A sleek white Tesla Model X. My Ford F-150, which should have been there, was nowhere in sight. Worse yet, the Tesla was plugged into my electrical outlet. A bright orange sign slapped on the side of the car read, "Official HOA vehicle. Do not touch. Violators will be prosecuted." I blinked, trying to make sense of it. My garage, the one place in the world I still felt my wife Sarah's presence, was violated. Sarah had died of cancer 3 years ago, and since then, it had been just me and my 16-year-old daughter, Emma. The garage was where I spent weekends restoring classic cars with Sarah, where she'd taught Emma how to change oil, where we painted the walls blue because it reminded her of the ocean. It was our sanctuary. And now, some stranger had made it her personal parking space. I took a deep breath, swallowing the rage rising inside me. I walked around to inspect it. There was no mistaking it. The setup wasn't accidental. Regina Ashford, the HOA president, had made sure she'd planned every detail. She had somehow gotten hold of my garage code, likely from the real estate paperwork, when I bought the house 5 years ago. I realized she'd installed a permanent charging station, drilling into my wall, running heavy-duty electrical wires directly to my panel. This wasn't some random act of laziness. It was an invasion. And worse, it was probably weeks in the making. Emma came home later that day from her weekend shift at the local coffee shop. When she saw the Tesla, she raised an eyebrow. "Dad, did you buy a midlife crisis car?" she joked, but I could see the worry in her eyes. Emma had already been through too much. Losing her mom was still a scar on both of us, and now she was watching our home, our memories, being overtaken by someone who clearly had no respect for boundaries. "No, sweetheart," I said, shaking my head. "That's our HOA president's car, and she thinks she owns our garage now." Her face shifted from confusion to anger. I knew whatever happened next, I had to make sure Emma was safe. I had to handle this, but I needed to do it right. I started checking the security footage from the cameras I had installed after a few neighborhood break-ins. What I found made my blood boil. Regina had entered my garage 3 times in the past week. The first time, she used a device to clone my garage door opener, probably picking up the signal from my neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, who had a spare. The second time, she brought a crew to install the charging equipment. The third time, just yesterday, she'd moved her car in and put up that obnoxious sign like she owned the place. It was the final straw. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Regina hadn't just used my outlet to charge her car. She'd hijacked my Wi-Fi network to upload surveillance footage of the installation. It wasn't just my garage she was taking over. She was trying to build a case for herself, to justify her illegal invasion of my property, to make it look like she had every right to be there. That evening, my elderly neighbor, Harold Goldstein, knocked on my door. Harold was 73, a retired private investigator, and over the years, he had become a surrogate grandfather to Emma and a good friend to me. "Tom, I've been watching what's happening with your garage," he said, glancing around like Regina might be listening in. "You need to know, this isn't the first time she's done something like this. I've been keeping documentation." Harold handed me a thick manila folder. Inside were photos, financial records, and documents showing how Regina had been systematically taking advantage of homeowners in our community. She'd convinced 3 other families to let her use their garages for official business in exchange for reduced HOA fees. She'd created bogus emergency regulations that gave her the right to invade private property, all while lining her own pockets. The more I read, the clearer it became. Regina wasn't just a bad neighbor. She was running a criminal operation. As I read through the files, I started to formulate a plan. I wasn't going to call the police just yet. I knew that if I went to them too soon, Regina might cover her tracks. I had to build my case carefully, make sure I had enough evidence to take her down for good. But I was no detective, no cop. I was an engineer. And engineers solve problems. I spent the night drawing up designs for a high-tech solution. My idea was simple. I would upgrade my garage's security system with AI that could lock and unlock based on specific audio triggers. All I had to do was give Regina exactly what she thought she wanted: full control over the garage. But the twist? She wouldn't be able to leave when she tried. And while she was trapped, I'd have all the proof I needed. Emma, who had always been good with technology, helped me set up hidden cameras and sensors. She even showed me how to link the system to cloud storage so Regina wouldn't be able to delete any footage. We were about to turn the tables on her in a way she never saw coming. The next morning, Regina arrived at my house, clipboard in hand, ready for battle. She started in on me about violating HOA emergency protocols, speaking with fake authority like she was some sort of suburban sheriff. "I'm filing harassment charges against you," she said, her voice oozing with false confidence. "And I'm also going to the police." I let her talk, but I wasn't listening. The system was in place. Emma was at school, monitoring everything from her phone. The moment Regina activated her official business trigger, the garage door would lock, and she'd be trapped. Sure enough, Regina plugged in her car and started blabbing about her HOA business, thinking she was untouchable. As soon as she spoke the words I had programmed into the system, HOA official business, the doors slammed shut. I watched the panic spread across her face as she tried and failed to open the door. She was locked in. But it was the conversation she had next that sealed her fate. She pulled out her phone and called someone she referred to as Davis. In the clear, cold recording, she confessed everything. How she was stealing from the community, how she'd poisoned the neighborhood pond, and how she was trying to drive down property values to make way for a luxury resort. I had my proof. Emma from school shared the footage on TikTok. Within hours, it went viral. The entire neighborhood was waking up to the truth. Regina's corruption was exposed, and she didn't even realize she was recording the evidence herself. By the time the police arrived, it was too late. Regina was arrested, and her fake security team was taken into custody for impersonating law enforcement. But the real blow came when we uncovered more about her operations. Harold and I learned that Regina had been siphoning HOA funds, using them for personal gain while creating fake regulations to control the neighborhood. She was running a nationwide scam, stealing millions from communities across the country. Regina's empire crumbled fast. Federal agents moved in, arresting her and her associates. The entire community gathered in my driveway, finally learning how they'd been manipulated, intimidated, and robbed. It was a moment of sweet justice. Regina was finished. Months later, things had changed. The garage, once a symbol of my grief and my battle, was transformed into a community hub, a symbol of resilience, a place where the truth prevailed. Emma and I had become local heroes, but it wasn't about the fame. It was about standing up when it counted, when it was hard, when everyone else might have backed down. As I sat in the garage, staring at the ocean blue walls Sarah had picked, I felt her presence again. We'd won. And this time, it wasn't just for us. It was for everyone who'd suffered under Regina's rule. The truth had come out, and the community was finally free.